far does Triple H really need to take it? I mean, it's bad enough that Triple H is coming out rubbing it in our faces that he's the COO of the company and he has all this power. At least channel all this power in the right direction and start creating superstars of tomorrow. You know, I go back to a promo that John Cena recently dropped on Monday Night Raw, how he said the future is now. It's not tomorrow, it's now. And we need to start creating and focusing on these stars of tomorrow, because you're not always going to have John Cena and Randy Orton to always rely on to carry the company and to play favorites with Triple H. You're going to have to rely on people like Kevin Owens. You're going to have to rely on people like the Ascension and the primetime players, Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. So let's start creating superstars of tomorrow now, and let's give them the opportunities they deserve. And I'm not talking about focusing on the same 3 or 4 wrestlers all the time and keep going back to Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, and Triple H. It's not about those guys anymore. It's about creating stars from NXT and giving them the same opportunities that you gave one time to John Cena and Randy Orton back in 2002. Why not present those wrestlers with the same opportunities you gave to Orton and Cena back in 2002? Because the possibilities are really endless with those kind of wrestlers. I understand the psychology of having an annoying champion like Seth Rollins coming out all the time telling us all that he's the greatest champion of all time. He's going to be a champion for a very long time. But in my opinion, he resembles CM Punk way too much, and they kind of need to get away from that resemblance of Seth Rollins and CM Punk unless they're going to do a feud between CM Punk and Seth Rollins at an upcoming WWE pay-per-view, which I don't see happening anytime soon. So the purpose of trying to compare him to CM Punk has been completely defeated, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. Now, when they were teasing Seth Rollins when he was NXT champion to face WWE champion at the time, CM Punk, it made perfect sense for Rollins to come out and resemble CM Punk the way he has over the last number of months. But now without Punk there, and Punk gone back to independent wrestling promotions and doing things outside of World Wrestling Entertainment, having Seth Rollins come out with a championship saying he's going to be champion for a very long time, the same way Punk did back in 2011 to get under the skin of John Laurinaitis, who was the Raw GM back then when CM Punk had issues with John Laurinaitis, Vince McMahon, and Triple H. I understood it then, but I don't understand Seth Rollins coming out now with the title saying the same thing, the exact same thing that CM Punk said a number of years ago. It's really ridiculous, and its purpose, in my opinion, has been completely defeated, and there's no point of doing it. I don't know where Triple H is getting off having Rollins coming out comparing himself to CM Punk all the time. Maybe Triple H has a grudge against CM Punk for having an issue with him for a number of years in their feud back in 2011 when CM Punk questioned who really wore the pants in the relationship between Triple H and Stephanie, which really got under the skin of Triple H. Maybe Triple H is still taking exception to CM Punk and everything Punk said about him a number of years ago. I really don't know. And along with that, now you have Kane being really insulted, being compared to the brother of The Undertaker now by Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar can't believe that Kane is trying to tell him what to do as the director of operations. That's really ridiculous how they've done this with Kane. They've given Kane a stupid role just to slow Kane down from wrestling all the time. Kane still scantily wrestles on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, but the thing is, it's just really ridiculous how we're seeing Kane really disgraced being compared to The Undertaker, and how The Undertaker has this legacy, and how Brock Lesnar pretty much steamrolled over The Undertaker at WrestleMania this year. Now Brock Lesnar is insulting Kane after having defeated The Undertaker, which nobody could have done at WrestleMania. Along with that, you have J&J Security out there with Seth Rollins providing us with comical relief. The Authority just have no place in WWE, in my opinion, and they're just coming out and getting off because they know they can, and they can get under the skin of wrestling fans, and wrestling fans are buying into the idea of the Authority being on top. And I say this in response to fans buying into the whole idea of the Authority running roughshod over the WWE. If we didn't buy into things like Seth Rollins being champion and the Authority in power the way the Authority have been in power for the last 2 years, if we didn't buy into this concept as much as what we have for the last 365 days, for the last year at least, for the last 2 the Authority have been in power, if we didn't buy into it for at least 1 year of 365 days or over 600 plus days with the Authority being in power since 2013, then the Authority wouldn't be running roughshod as much over the company as what they have been, and they wouldn't be getting under our skin as much. If we didn't buy into it all, the Authority probably would have been long gone now, and the correction of WWE probably would have been changed long before now, and we wouldn't be being annoyed so much by people like Triple H and Stephanie, who know they're in power and know they can use that power to get under our skin. I think they should be using that power more so to create more wrestlers than what they've been creating. I mean, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, yeah, they're creative wrestlers, but I mean, where are the other wrestlers? Where are the other wrestlers from NXT being given opportunities. You can't honestly tell me that Tough Enough, a reality show with nobodies, is going to create a superstar for tomorrow. It's not going to create a superstar for tomorrow, because if Tough Enough was going to create a superstar for tomorrow, they would have created superstars for tomorrow long before now, because the only big name to come out of Tough Enough, in my opinion, was The Miz, and that was back in 2004, and it took WWE years to have a creative direction going for The Miz. So you can't honestly tell me the newer version of Tough Enough that's been released featuring Daniel Bryan and AJ on Tough Enough is going to create a superstar and a diva for tomorrow. It's not going to do that. Where the superstars are going to be created from are NXT, and that's where the Tough Enough superstar that's created, either the superstar or diva that's created, possibly two of them, which obviously they'll choose, one superstar and one diva to represent both rosters. That's where the stars from Tough Enough who are going to be created should start their careers, down in NXT, to give them an opportunity to actually be packaged into something that's actually worth watching on the product as part of it. You can't honestly tell me a reality show is going to make up where NXT is, leaving us very disappointed, because it's not. And I think that's where the focus needs to be on, creating superstars, especially with the retirement of Daniel Bryan, how much of a response Daniel Bryan got from wrestling fans, and with all the retirements we have seen for the better part of the last 5 years, not just Daniel Bryan, but taking into consideration retirements of Shawn Michaels and Edge. I mean, it's been 5 years, and all these big names have retired, making the decision to leave. So with all these big names making the decision to leave, where does that leave WWE in a very precarious position, if you ask me? With Triple H wrestling once a year, every once a year, 6 months to a year, we see Triple H wrestle. And that's not enough. You know, the last time Triple H wrestled, he beat Sting. He hasn't wrestled since. And we haven't seen Sting and or on WWE television or a pay-per-view. It's really ridiculous. And Brock Lesnar now having his first match since WrestleMania. And it goes back to these Legends contracts. I like the idea of the Legends contracts, but with the Legends contracts only requiring wrestlers like Sting and Brock Lesnar to wrestle once every 6 months to a year, the Authority are coming out and running roughshod over the new talent initiative, and you can't always leave it up to John Cena and Randy Orton to feud amongst themselves about who's going to get the better of the Authority, teaming up all the time to try to get the better of the Authority. It's ridiculous, and along with that, you have a champion who gets under our skin all the time, feuding with the same 3 or 4 people with the championship. They're keeping the feud with Seth Rollins being champion within the history of the Shield, which I really like, but more times than enough I don't, because it's the same thing happening all the time. It's either Seth Rollins feuding with Dean Ambrose, and if it's not that, it's Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, and they're only just getting away from Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns feuding over the championship with getting Roman Reigns now in a program with Bray Wyatt, which I don't see going anywhere anytime soon. They finally finalized the feud between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, which went way too many pay-per-views, and now it's only now they're getting us going with Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar, which is something different. Ever since WrestleMania, we've been waiting for a different opponent for Seth Rollins to have, and he's only getting a different opponent now in Brock Lesnar, in a match that will probably end more likely than in a countout or disqualification, which is just ridiculous. And it goes back to how wrestling fans are just buying into the idea of Rollins being champion. You know, I will admit to you, I have admitted this on blogtalkradio.com a number of times over the last number of months. I am annoyed with Seth Rollins being champion, and I have been accused of buying into the whole idea of Rollins being champion, and I will publicly admit that I have bought into this idea of Rollins being an annoying champion and being champion for a very long time, and it pisses me off, just as so many champions of the past, like The Miz in 2010 when he was champion, and he held the championship for 5 months, almost half of a year of The Miz being champion, with how much he annoyed me as a character. I bought into that. I'm just equally as much buying into the idea of Seth Rollins being champion, and maybe it's my fault that Rollins is champion, maybe because I bought into it so much as a wrestling fan / mark. Rollins has been champion, and this is why he's been champion for as long as what he has, because he's serving his purpose. He's being paid to piss us off, piss off people like me who do these video blogs, who write these columns on a weekly basis for my website. So maybe it's my fault partially that Rollins is champion, and I'll put the blame on myself and point the finger at myself for being this way and how things are in WWE. So if I didn't buy into it, maybe Rollins wouldn't be champion, or have been champion for as long as he has been since WrestleMania, and we probably wouldn't have to have waited for Seth Rollins to face Brock Lesnar for as long as what we have been. My hopes for this match with Rollins and Lesnar is that it lives up to the hype, and it actually has a conclusion that's worth seeing. Now, with the response that Lesnar has been getting in his feud with the Authority and being a fan favorite, he gets really explosive reactions. So to choose Seth Rollins over Brock Lesnar may be looked at as somewhat of a ludicrous and crazy prediction with the response that Lesnar gets as a fan favorite. But look at it from a psychologist's point of view. And the psychologist's point of view is Lesnar getting these huge responses would piss wrestling fans off so much if Lesnar went into Battleground and came out on the losing end, being screwed out of the championship picked by a wrestler who could debut from Japan, who I'm really high on, or something different that could happen resulting in Lesnar not coming away from Battleground as champion, with Paul Heyman playing the heel card, turning on Brock Lesnar. Now, there are those fans out there that believe that Seth Rollins is going to be turned on by the Authority, and Brock Lesnar and Heyman are with the Authority and have been with the Authority all along. But I think that Lesnar being a fan favorite just has too much money riding on it, and with the responses Lesnar's been getting by fans for being a fan favorite in recent weeks, feuding with the Authority and Seth Rollins, I don't see Lesnar turning into a heel anytime soon, because we've been waiting a long time for Lesnar to be a fan favorite, and it's just as big of a move having Lesnar being a fan favorite as it was Sheamus being a fan favorite for a number of years. That was a great move, and it's just great of a move having Lesnar now as a fan favorite. I really approve of that. But again, the Authority are the reason all this is going on. They're the reason why Sting was screwed out of the match with Triple H at WrestleMania 31. It really pissed me off, and I don't think the Authority should have gotten away with that. I don't think the Authority should have gotten away with over 85 to 90% of the decisions they made over the last 2 years. It's been ridiculous, and I think that something really needs to be done about Triple H running the show. And I don't lie. I don't lie about anything I've said. And one of the things that I've said is that I want to challenge Triple H to a match at WrestleMania 32. If nobody else can get the job done against the Authority, I guess I'm going to have to step into the ring at WrestleMania 32 against Triple H and see what I can do against Triple H. It probably wouldn't be much, and I'd probably be hitting the back of the head with a sledgehammer and any time soon in that match. But the thing is, someone's got to do something about the Authority, and if nobody else is going to do anything about the Authority and they're going to let people continue to run roughshod over WWE the way they have, I think that somebody needs to step into the ring against Triple H, and someone who's really serious about getting the job done against Triple H. And I have thrown the challenge out on sites like blogtalkradio.com. I've issued this challenge more times than enough on YouTube, but I'm going to issue that challenge again for WrestleMania 32 on this latest video blog, on Triple H's latest shoot video, if you would, on everything Triple H has done. I am throwing down the challenge for WrestleMania 32 to either Triple H or whoever the WWE champion is at WrestleMania 32, even if it is Seth Rollins by WrestleMania 32. I'll step into the ring with either Triple H or Seth Rollins, because someone has to do something about the Authority. And you may be saying to yourself, you're crazy, Jonathan Clarke. You wouldn't last 10 minutes in the ring with Triple H, and I probably last longer than a lot of people Triple H has been in the ring with over the years. I mean, Marty Garner didn't last very long. He was one of the first people to take the pedigree from Triple H, and he took the pedigree head first. I interviewed Marty Garner. Marty Garner didn't last 5 minutes in the ring with Triple H, and I'd probably last longer than what Marty Garner did. So at least you got to give me the benefit of the doubt in some ways, even though you're kind of reluctant to do it. At least you know that I probably last longer than some people have over the years in the ring with Triple H, if ever given the opportunity to. So whoever the champion is, or Triple H, whoever wants to accept my challenge, I am throwing it down for WrestleMania 32, because someone has to do something about the Authority, because the Authority doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. I go back to the start of the year when they brought the Authority back. I wasn't too high on the Authority being brought back. The only good thing about it was we saw Sting versus Triple H in the fallout, the Authority being reinstated on the first Raw of 2015.